Support WrestleTalk!
Be friendly in the comments.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're giving you our predictions for Survivor Series 2017 and NXT Takeover Houston, Texas, Dallas War Games Starrcade. And of course, right now, get into the Great Balls of Botch, everyone's new favourite segment. But if you want to go straight to those prediction sections, click the timestamps in the video description below to be taken right there, or stay here where we're going to talk about all the stuff we got wrong.
Yeah, people really have taken to Great Balls of Botch, although I like that everyone puts their own little hashtag on it or their own little thing. They call it, Botchlash, or I like Botch at the beach. There's all sorts that you can throw into there.
Yep, Road Botch.
End of the line.
End of the correct stuff.
Yeah, if you want to try and stretch it out even further.
Yeah.
So we've actually got quite a few entries into Great Balls of Botch.
All
for
from
this
one episode. All from the last episode.
However, yeah, I was going to say, so new viewers may not know, but we take all of the corrections and omissions that we had taken from the last episode, and we put them into this episode that we can correct ourselves, and you get some gratification for pointing out what doofuses we are. A bit like, actually, when we were at the Rev Pro show, we haven't mentioned this yet, but it was my favourite moment from the people that we met at the Rev Pro show, and it was on the Thursday show. There was a guy who was waiting in line at the bar. We'd already got our beers and we were standing at the side. And he grabbed me and he was like, "Hey, the drive to 500,000. I was like, "Oh, hey, man, thanks very much." He went, "Yeah, you guys are the worst YouTubers." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Yeah, you guys are just the worst at it." And I was like, I didn't really know what that meant. Are we bad because we don't say subscribe and give a like?
Well, I think he clarified, didn't he, that he likes us, and he just means that we're quite awkward in terms of YouTube and being professional. Maybe it was like a street thing that kids sometimes use. They say the opposite. Like, that is wicked.
Yeah.
That is bad, man.
Like in the 90s.
Yeah, this is some day one-ish.
Michael Jackson's bad was not saying that, hey, this album's not very good. In fact, that album is dope. That album is like that
Reverse
album,
Psychology, Jackson.
That album is one track away from being a perfect album.
What's the one track?
Speed Demon, which is absolute tosh.
I can't remember the track by track listing for it.
It's
I'm more of a history guy. Oh yeah.
I'd have to say it's the best of the Beatles.
My favourite album of Michael Jackson is his collected best of. Or Moonwalker. No, Moon. Yeah, it was Moonwalker.
No, it wasn't. Moonwalker was the movie.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the movie is my favourite thing that Michael Jackson has ever done.
Where he turns into a giant robot.
Yeah, that kids get inside. It's just a weird, he's so screwed up from his horrible upbringing and just being thrust into the limelight and stardom and celebrity at a very young age. And this is the product of his mind. And it's bat S-word crazy.
It is pretty crazy, that film. I remember watching that film on VHS when I was a kid, because I was a huge Michael Jackson fan, and every time I watched it, just being more and more perplexed, being like, I don't think I get what's going on here. I just want to see him sing the songs.
Yeah, I'd be like, so Joe Pesci, how does this relate to the people with the giant heads at the start of the movie running around Florida?
Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably get into the Great Balls of Botch. So kick things off with stuff we've done wrong here.
So it was pointed out by quite a few people and on Twitter, on YouTube and on Twitter, that we forgot to talk about the fifth woman in the SmackDown team, which we'd actually been teasing throughout the entire show. We kept saying we'll save that later, it's a tease. Then we just forgot to talk about it.
No. We didn't say when later. I'm pretty sure we didn't say later in the show. We're going to talk about it next week after Survivor Series has happened.
About our predictions. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But we actually did talk about it. I remembered as we were doing the outro, and I suddenly thought, it's probably too late to bring it up now. My head's already down here. Can't really do that. So then I said to you after I stopped recording, I forgot to talk about that. We'll just do it on the podcast instead. So listeners to the podcast have heard it. So we did talk about it. It's not a botch.
Yeah, and we'll address it here as well in the Survivor Series bit. Also, we were very excited about a moment in the Raw angle where Kurt Angle seemed to nod his approval in a mob boss style thing to Triple H so Triple H could pedigree Jason Jordan. Apparently, this was Triple H asking Kurt if Jason was Kurt's son, and Kurt's like, yeah. And so then Triple H hit the pedigree.
Apparently, Triple H even says the word, "This is your son?" And Kurt goes, "Yes."
I mean, that's also a really cool story, because that's like, what a heel Triple H is. Oh, this is your son. I'm definitely going to pedigree him in. But I think our version is a lot more interesting. It's very complex. All the character stuff, the conflicted character stuff of Kurt there.
I think it's way better.
Nakamura was in the room in Shane McMahon's Gettysburg Address at the start of SmackDown Live.
Just didn't notice him, which perhaps tells you a lot about WWE's main roster booking of Shinsuke Nakamura, when he could just be in a room and you're like, didn't even notice him there.
He should be at the back, like,
he's
gurning around and doing weird
He's
things.
he's just another guy now.
So I was telling Luke just before we came in here, I listened to Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez's review of SmackDown this morning, and I was quite I liked the opening segment. You thought it was hokey, but Meltzer and Alvarez really have they made me change my mind, in that you've got Shane McMahon on the stage looking like a star, and everyone else is just this homogenous mass of people who are in love with Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
And it really flattens out the rest of the roster in terms of trying to create wrestlers that you want to see. They look like chumps.
An easy fix for that would have been just put the rest of the Survivor Series team up on the stage with him.
Yeah.
But nope, Shane McMahon is the star. As I said in the WrestleRamble when we recorded yesterday, that Shane is the star of the SmackDown brand. That's why the beatdown was focused on him.
Do you want to... I'm confused about this one.
Yes, so we also said, I said yesterday, talking about the Shield challenge, the New Day, and then just in the show, they didn't really announce that the match had been accepted, or they sort of mentioned it on commentary, and I said, they didn't show the tweets up on screen or anything like that. Apparently on some feeds they were,
cool.
But not on the feed that I watched.
And the next one?
So this was from Mr. August on YouTube that said, "God's sake, Luke, Roman and the Usos teamed with Dean Ambrose, not AJ Styles." Which I believe is in reference to when we were talking about on SmackDown when the Usos rushed the ring and they had that bit of a brief moment with Roman and they sort of looked at him and then Death attacked from either side. And you said, it was a great moment because they're family, they're Us. And I said, yeah, and it ties back into the feud that they had with AJ Styles when Roman was going against AJ, and it was like the family versus the club. That's what I was referring to. Someone seems to have mistaken what I meant, and then talked about them teaming with Dean Ambrose, which I'm not really sure what they're on about.
You are turning this into... That's not a Great Balls of Botch, because you got it right.
Well, no,
you're turning it into, this is YouTube comments Great Balls of Botch. Luke's right.
That's not true at all.
Putting yourself
because
over.
I'm very happy to admit that I was wrong on the other two. Actually, on the other four.
Now, I said about a New Day, I said I don't want the New Day to break up, and then I was like, I thought that I had done a podcast with Finn Martin at the start of this year about how they should have done it. Turns out I was wrong.
Well, you see, now I knew that we had done a podcast on this previously, but I had assumed you'd done another one with Finn Martin
Not
before
since.
that.
No, that was back in January. So one of the fantasy booking warfares
was the very first fantasy booking warfare we did.
Was
because you remember
the breakup of the New Day.
Yeah, remember you hadn't adequately explained to me how fantasy booking warfare works.
Oh, it was the Doomsday.
Yeah, so was it?
That was my storyline. It was the Doomsday. It was the Authors of Pain coming up. They wrote a new book called Doomsday. And that was the New Day end.
Oh, I honestly don't remember what yours was.
It was a cracking piece of fantasy booking. I probably won.
But I literally just I'd have just just had them split up amicably. I didn't realise I had to write an entire story.
Well, now you know.
And now I
won
know.
That one. And finally, Mason Martinez writes, Ollie, I keep noticing that you say Pavlonian response. The mechanism by which you see something and then you automatically respond to it. So the famous experiment is when you ring a bell and give a dog some food, the dog after a while starts to associate the bell ringing with getting food. So if you take away the food after a period of weeks, you ring the bell, the dog starts to salivate because that is a Pavlovian response. Pavlov was
you said it again.
Pavlovian. This is me saying something wrong for my entire adult life.
Do you know what's funny?
It's not going to be fixed in a day.
Do you know what's funny? I've never noticed it. Maybe it's just a Pavlovian response that I think you're saying it right.
Yeah. So the dude, as Mason points out, the dude's name was Pavlov. It's Pavlovian. Let's get into some predictions. So let's kick off NXT TakeOver Houston War Games Dallas Starrcade with the, I suppose, the titular match. The titular match of Sanity versus the Undisputed Era versus the Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong Franken team in a War Games match.
First War Games in over 20 years, if you don't count the TNA attempts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot they did
do
those.
the full... No, what do they used to call it?
Multi-ring.
No, because they only did it in one ring.
Right.
But they had the six-sided steel and then the roof lowered with sparklers on it. And then the roof had weapons attached to it.
It's like a Monsters Ball.
No, it's not like a Monster Ball. I was going to call it Full Metal Mayhem, but that was their name for TLC matches.
That's it. It doesn't
really matter.
It doesn't matter. So
someone will let us know, I imagine. But yeah, so what's you said to me before we came into here that you've not been really keeping up with NXT, so you think you might struggle with these predictions.
Yeah.
But we did watch, I showed you the promo package on this week's NXT for this main event, and it's damn good.
It was a mighty fine promo package, and there was one point where I was like, all these guys are so over. Like, everyone's got a really cool storyline and act, and they're all going against each other. I guess Undisputed Era are the heels, but it's weird to think that just a few months ago, Authors of Pain were the heels, and a few months before that, Sanity were the heels. So this is like, they're all heels, but they're all so badass. They're cool.
I think Authors of Pain are still heel. But they've got
Roderick Strong with them.
as the fiery babyface.
Yeah.
It's just like it's that blurring the line of face and heel. They just all hate each other and want to have a fight and have a bit of a rumble. And yeah, also this video package featured one of my favourite moments in recent NXT weeks, which was when Killian Dane did a running senton while also kicking, I think it was Kyle O'Reilly, and then landing on Bobby Fish. That's a great spot. It was really cool. And I mean, I don't know if I can say this with any degree of certainty, but this may be the match I'm most looking forward to this weekend.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's certainly going to be fun. It's weird how usually we're saying NXT is going to be the best match of the weekend, but the best night of the weekend. But Survivor Series looks so good on paper. Unfortunately, it's very long as always, and this will be a nice 2.5 hour long show, and you can breeze through it. It feels like nothing. And Survivor Series is going to be a 6-hour torture session. But yeah, it's nice that WWE have a card that outdoes its developmental promotion for I am gonna say Undisputed Era, because this is like their first proper pay-per-view match, takeover match, and they're the new act. They need a win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to say the Undisputed Era as well. I'd like to say Sanity because it kind of builds into a storyline that I'd like them to build towards, but I think the Undisputed Era will win. You move Adam Cole into a match with Drew McIntyre, and you move Riley and Fish into a tag team feud with the other members of Sanity.
Yeah. So Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream this next, which, what a match that I never knew I wanted. And then that first promo when they go up against each other and Aleister Black sits down and Velveteen Dream kind of like snakes off and gets really close to his face, and you're like, are you going to kiss? That's weird. But why am I so into these two guys kissing? I'm excited. I don't know why I'm excited. Is it because they're going to fight? Is it because they're going to kiss? I'm sexually confused. Girlfriend, get in here. What's going on with me? And apparently Meltzer said they've been tearing it up on the house show circuit.
Wow.
So this could be a sleeper match of the weekend.
I am so into this feud, and again, I echo you with saying, like, I had no idea I wanted this.
Yeah.
I had no idea I wanted this match until they did this build. Like, what a great build this has been. There's a great moment when Aleister Black was making his entrance, and then all of a sudden he just appears over his shoulder, because this whole thing is built around making Aleister Black say Velveteen Dream. Because he never refers to him as that. In all of his interviews, he's like, Patrick Clark can say whatever he wants to me. He's like, no, my name's not Patrick Clark. I'm the Velveteen Dream. Call me by my name. And it's just and there's another great moment when Aleister Black was doing his little sit-down thing, and he was just staring into dead space. And Patrick Clark was just like, acknowledge me, shouting at him. And he walks back up the ring, angry and annoyed. And then Aleister Black just slightly turns his head and does acknowledge him. And then Mauro Ranallo's going like, he acknowledged him, he saw it, he looked.
That's great storytelling.
So great. This match is going to be awesome.
It's just such an inspired choice. I would never, ever in a million years, and I doubt most people would, because it's such a off-the-wall choice, have put these two together in a program. They seem like polar opposites, like the acts wouldn't work together, but it's created some form of magic. However, you should go first. I went first last time.
I am going for Black Mass. I think that Aleister Black is going to get the win here.
Ditto. Title match, Drew McIntyre versus Andrade Cien Almas, which is probably the least inspiring NXT title match in the show's recent history.
Yeah, no, I would for sure agree with that.
Yeah,
I feel that Drew has become a victim of when you get given the championship, but there is a storyline that's slightly bigger than the championship, which is the War Game story, and as such, your championship just kind of gets relegated into secondary storyline. So yeah, it's a real shame for Drew.
Yeah, because I suppose this isn't going to be the main event.
No, War Games will be the main event.
Yeah, and I can't recall a takeover that wasn't headlined by an NXT championship. Oh,
I can.
Yes.
It was NXT Takeover. I want to say Respect, which was when it was the women's championship that was the main event.
Really early on.
It was
Okay.
and it was Bayley Sasha Banks in the 30-minute Iron Man match.
Iron Maiden match.
It was
Should have been called.
if only.
So I'm going to say McIntyre quite easily.
Yeah, I'm saying Drew here. I don't think Andrade's not. It's not the right time to put the belt on Andrade. I'm not sure that that time will ever come. Really.
He was one of the guys who was rumoured for a main roster call-up after SummerSlam. It was like his name, Bobby Roode. Can't remember the others now. Authors of Pain. And yeah, for whatever reason, they kept Andrade down there. But did pair him with, what's her name? It's not Tia Trinidad.
No, it's
something
Selena
else.
something.
Yeah.
It's
And
Selena.
they're a good act.
It's Selena. Insert surname. I keep wanting to say Gomez, but it's not that because that's
someone else.
That's someone very different.
Kairi Sane. I said that right, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes. Versus Peyton Royce versus Ember Moon versus Nikki Cross for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. Vacant, doing another great title reign there, taking the belt from Asuka. This is probably the toughest one on the show to predict. Not only because there's so many people in it, but there's no real standout for me. In terms of like they're all like no one's a superstar for me yet, but they're all like pretty good. I guess I'm gonna say Kairi Sane just because she won the Mae Young Classic, and I think that's a nice continuing. It makes sense if you really want to put over the Mae Young Classic tournament. You say, oh well, the winner of that then went on to be the champion.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. I feel really sorry for Ember Moon in all of this. So it kind of calls back to that Austin Aries interview he did with Jericho on Talk Is Jericho, when he said that his first 4 things he did as a babyface was lose to Neville. So it's like, so what's next for me? And if Ember Moon doesn't win here, that's 3 attempts at the title now, which she hasn't won. And it's like, well, what's really next for her? Because then that's all that paints her as. It's just she's a big loser.
Yeah.
And that worked with Sami Zayn, but it doesn't work every time. Sami Zayn was just he was a unique property for that. However, I'm not going to say Kairi Sane in all of this. I'm actually going to say Nikki Cross.
You see, she was my second choice. Why, do you want to walk us through why?
Well,
she's awesome.
It's because she's so awesome. I think of the 4, outside of perhaps Kairi Sane, she is the most over. So I think that she's very deserving of the belt, and I think she'd actually bring a lot of her with the belt just opens up the floodgates of what great possibilities we could have here, because she's this completely crazy woman holding the belt, and then having a feud with Kairi Sane chasing the belt is a much more interesting storyline than Kairi just winning it outright, at least for me. And my other thought process is that Sanity have the tag champs. So if you have the tag champs and the women's championship, and then you have Eric Young going for the main, for the NXT championship against Drew McIntyre, perhaps once he's done with Adam Cole, or maybe that was why I wanted to actually initially have Sanity win War Games, because then you can have Eric Young go on to face it, and then you essentially have Sanity taking over NXT. Problem is, I agree with you that I think Undisputed Era kind of need that win out the blocks. So, but I'm going to say Nikki Cross here, and I'd like to still see that Sanity get all the straps.
Yeah, I think that's that's a really nice story to tell. especially Sane chasing the title. The money's in that. But you've also got the Mae Young Classic looming in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
You know what? Spinning out of the War Games match, I think the best thing would be not for Adam Cole to go straight for the title, but to have a blood feud with Roderick Strong.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Maybe even with, if I beat you, Roddy, you have to join us.
Maybe that's right, yeah. Maybe
So I guess you could work a Sanity victory that way. I'd still want Undisputed Era to win that.
Yeah, I might actually change my pick. I'm going to change my pick.
Are you going to?
I'm changing my pick for War Games. I'm going with Sanity.
Sanity?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
wow, Luke.
You've taught. I think you had taught me into that, but
I'm going to write Sanity with the proper lowercase, uppercase format as well.
Yeah.
Look at that. Lowercase nit. Say nit?
Why?
And Cassius Ohno versus Lars Sullivan. We've done this the wrong way round, really. This is the least important match on the card. I went first last time.
I'm going Lars.
You're going Lars. I'm also going Lars, just because Ohno is kind of as great as he is, Chris Hero, and he truly is. Can work so many styles. I think he's never going to get beyond solid guy who puts other guys over in NXT.
He is a mid-carder in NXT. Problem is, if you're a mid-carder in NXT, that's all you are.
Now we have the weekend's main event, I guess, if you want to call it that way.
I'd say it is.
It's Survivor Series, arguably the best card on paper all year for WWE. I mean, I can't think of the last time a match as a pay-per-view for WWE looks so good top to bottom on paper. It's not all hits, but
yeah. So I have a video that's going up on Saturday talking about almost how excited I am for Survivor Series 2017, and in that I was like, you look at the card for this, and you look at the War Games card, and you're like, man, WWE really does have the best talent pool of any company, probably in the history of wrestling, and that's not including some of the people that aren't on the card. Like, it's apart
there's no Dolph Ziggler on there.
Yeah, you're right. There's no colognes on it either. Certainly no Fashion Police. So aside from a few clunkers here and there, this is a absolutely stonking card, and I've not been this excited for a Survivor Series in quite some time.
It's weird how it doesn't mean anything.
Don't you know what is on the line?
Kurt Angle's job, supposedly. Apparently that's one of those things that WWE might drop.
I thought that because they didn't mention it on commentary at all during Raw, which is why I'd forgotten about it. And I think that stipulation was made when I was away, and so I didn't watch that Raw. And because that's never been mentioned since, I think that has been dropped.
Yeah, like the Vince McMahon lockbox that he once said. I so want to know what's in there. So, yeah, it's currently 8 matches over a 6-hour show. That's a 2-hour pre-show and 4-hour main show. Although that first hour of the pre-show isn't going to be anything. It's just going to be people talking in the bloody infuriating social media lounge. Hey, Dean Ambrose, what's your favourite bourbon biscuit? Oh my God, Seth Rollins. If you were going to be a loaf of bread, what loaf of bread would you be, Seth Rollins? This is the great journalism that we have from sourcing questions from the most idiotic section of our online fan base. I'm WWE generic interviewer number 3. Back over to you, Renee.
Oh, poor Charlie Caruso.
Yeah, poor Dasher.
If you were a loaf of bread, what loaf of bread would you be?
I would be... Do you want to... I'm glad you asked me this, because I have arriving tomorrow, because I'm in some weird S word, a loaf of bread that is made from legumes and seeds.
You made a word up there. Seeds, I understood.
Legumes are things like beans and lentils and pulses. Pulses would be another. Yeah,
pulses is the word I would use. Yeah. Touch your hand a bit there.
And so there's no wheat in it. There's no gluten.
Tell me more.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to taste nice.
Oh, well, tell me more when you get it.
Yeah, because I like bread. I want to have bread every day, but it makes me feel tremendously gassy. So I thought I'd try something new. So maybe I'm that kind of bread. I also bought some noodles made from fish. Whoa. And my lady partner thinks that's the most disgusting thing I've ever done. And she lives with me. I do disgusting things all the time. What loaf of bread would you be?
I was just trying to think that then, because there's is it saltine? That sort of like fruit loaf.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
I can't remember what it's called
You're
now.
a fruity loaf.
But I like that. Or Warburton's. Warburton's thick slice white bread.
Consistently good advertising campaigns.
Aren't they just? They've got the Muppets involved. You know, that's how good they are. But yeah, I like really thick crust, sliced bread, sliced white bread, especially when I have my toast. And I think when I make toast sometimes in the morning, you say it looks like toy food.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Peanut butter and jam.
Peanut butter and jam on there. Lovely stuff. But yeah, I think that's probably what I would be.
I'm worried that people have gone, like, at the start of the video, I'm not going to sit through all this guffins, straight to the Survivor Series reviews, or predictions, rather. And then it's just about 3 minutes of us talking about bread.
Yeah, but, you know, that's the kind of banter we bring.
So, first hour, we'll start our way from the bottom, unlike we did with NXT TakeOver Houston Dallas War Games Starcade. And you got Kalisto versus Enzo. That's an announced pre-show match. Kickoff match. However, it's been widely reported that another match is going to be added. But we don't know what that is yet. It hasn't been. We're recording this on Thursday to get it up on Friday for Patreon people, for early backers. Then it goes live on Saturday. So we cannot give you a prediction for that match.
Sorry.
As much as we would like to. But Raw would probably win. That's what I'm going to say. Apparently, it's going to still be on the Raw versus SmackDown theme.
Yeah, I mean, Apollo Crews has got to have something to do.
Yeah. So Kalisto versus Enzo Amore. Not a Raw versus SmackDown theme. The only one on the show
it's also
that is not.
Yeah, and it's the only title that's on the line.
That is a good point, yeah. And it's the most insignificant match of them all. Because
pretty much.
It's on the pre-show. Yeah, so I guess you could say Enzo is the Zoe show versus Kalisto from Raw.
Maybe.
I'm reaching. Have you got a prediction here?
Yeah, I'm saying Enzo winning.
Yeah, same here.
I don't see the point in taking the belt off Enzo at this stage, to be honest, and certainly not to put it on Kalisto because, I mean, look what happened last time he did that.
Yeah, that was quite obviously a rushed thing with the Neville walkout.
If he was ever there.
If he was ever there, and also, you know, there's been reports of positive talks between Neville and WWE as of late. Maybe Neville, and even returning before the end of November. Maybe we could see a Neville return on the pre-show. I'm sure he'd be really happy about that.
I'm sure he would.
I want to break out the Cruiserweight division. I want to be right in the main event mix, or I'm leaving. Yeah, you're going to go back in the pre-show.
Back in you go. Yeah, take out Enzo.
The first match, well, you know, there's that other match in there. We don't know what it is. We don't know what's going to go on the social media lounge either. The Miz versus Baron Corbin. The bathroom break right out of the way. And this is... I said the previous match, Kalisto versus Enzo, was the one I'm least looking forward to. But this is a close second.
I think, do you know what? I'm excited for the Enzo match more so because there is the chance Drew Gulak will come out with him.
Yeah.
And if Drew's there, then at
yeah.
least you've got some shtick with Drew.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which you do not have with The Miz and Baza Corbs. I couldn't think of a more boring match with the WWE lineup they currently have.
Yeah, it's like so many things about this match don't work. They're both heels. They're both like... They always sort of need to be paired with a better worker. I'm not saying they're bad workers, but they need to be paired with better workers to get a sort of pay-per-view quality match out of each other. And now they're just wrestling against each other. So that's not enticing. Their characters don't particularly play off well with each other. Baron Corbin has been booked terribly as a champion and in general over the last several months. Miz I think he's done all he could. I don't know what else Miz could have done to sell this match. So, well done, Miz. It's not your fault you're booked in this.
I don't think he's the only one that has done anything, because Baron Corbin's not had any mic time on SmackDown to push
the Gettysburg Address he did.
Oh, all right. So he had 7 seconds. Yeah. It's all been done on Twitter, I believe. That's where feuds are built these days. I mean,
but did you see those promos?
No.
Like, honestly, Miz was far in advance of Baron, but Corbin also cut some good promos online. None of that was shown on.
I was going to say, like,
WWE
so
TV.
It's one of those things again where it's like great stuff that's online that's never shown on TV because on TV you got to have the script.
So this is our first Raw versus SmackDown. pay attention to who, because it will play into the overall thing. You don't want to completely bury one brand. So who are you going for here?
I'm going with The Miz here.
I'm going to go with Baron Corbin.
Interesting.
I've got one eye on the rest of the night.
Yeah, I know. Well, I have as well, and that's why I may have to go back and readdress some of this. But yeah.
Next up, we have the women's 5-on-5 match: Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Asuka, and Nia Jax versus Becky Lynch, Naomi, Carmella, Tamina, and a surprise, which Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, is going to be Natalya.
Okay, so
and Paige isn't booked until after Survivor Series now.
Yeah, I mean, well, Natalya
but
seems
it could
like
still be Paige.
Natalya seems like the most obvious choice, like her or Lana, because they're the only other women I think they've got on SmackDown Live.
Some people are saying Brie or Nikki.
Yeah.
So that could be a big return, but I feel like you would announce that.
Yeah, but it's a nice little surprise for people. Again, it's like the Paige thing. I think it'd be a nice surprise if, when I did my little fantasy booking. Oh no, I did it on the podcast. That's why it was in Great Balls of Botch. My podcast my fantasy booking was the team are out there, and then Becky's like, and our fifth member is. Lana comes out, she goes, no, it's not you. Natalya comes out, no, it's not you. I've gone back to find the first person who stood by my side when I came up to the main roster, and out comes her submission sorority,
whatever that
teammate.
Yeah.
I should have just said Team PCB. Come out, and and then it's Paige, and that's Paige's big return.
So this is a curious one. I'm looking at this. Who went first last time? You did.
I did.
Well, I'm going to say Raw here because you've got Asuka and Nia Jax, and those are two people, especially Asuka at the moment, you need to protect. On the SmackDown side of things, none of those people are hot right now. Charlotte and Natalya has been the hot feud. I guess Carmella's got the briefcase. So it doesn't matter what happens to her. Maybe SmackDown loses and Carmella cashes in her briefcase at the end. That could be one way around it, now that she's shed Ellsworth, unfortunately.
Oh, poor Ellsworth.
I know, yeah. I would like to see it come down to... Because, Alicia Fox, I wouldn't mind if she gets eliminated right away. She's the first person gone, because it's like, Raw, Team Raw, what's going to happen? Then Sasha Banks goes, then Bayley goes. They're not really doing anything with them. It's just Asuka and Nia Jax. And it's Asuka and Nia Jax defeat the rest of the Team SmackDown. I know that makes SmackDown look weak, but I think...
Well, they eliminated 3 people.
Yeah, I guess so. But, at the start, just on paper, you've got Asuka's the most important thing here. So... people are going to have to be sacrificed, unfortunately. There is a trade-off. And you kind of forget about everything that bad happened to SmackDown if you get a Carmella cash-in on... Oh, she's not in the... That wouldn't work because Charlotte's in the championship. Yeah, maybe the cash-in comes later. So, yes, I'm saying Raw.
I'm also saying Team Raw.
Cool. Do you want to say why, or...
No, I very much agree with you. Although you do talk too much. You never shut up.
Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair next. What do you think?
I'm going with Charlotte Flair for this one. This will be my first SmackDown pick of the night, and that's why I was going with The Miz earlier, because I do think that Charlotte is getting the W here. However, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we see a Carmella cash in, because what I'd love to see is a moment where she then has a conflicting choice of who to cash in on.
Oh,
because both women's champions are there, and I think that would be a really nice moment. That would really get the crowd fired up. Where she's going to cash in on Charlotte, where she's going to cash in on Bliss, and then perhaps Carmella moves over to Raw when she's taken the title off Alexa. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah,
I really like that. I really like that as a moment. Looking at both people down, but I think Raw has. Raw has a lot of people, especially if Paige is going back there. I'd like Carmella to look at both women down. Everyone's going crazy. Who's she going to choose? Hold it just a little bit longer just to make people go even crazier. And then she goes for Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte makes the most sense.
Because then, Charlotte as a babyface champion doesn't do anything for me. Charlotte as a heel champion, all over that. But Charlotte chasing for the championship against unworthy Carmella, I think that's the story to tell in the long run.
But I'm going with Charlotte for the win here.
Both of us are. So that's a SmackDown win there. The Shield versus the New Day.
Yes, indeed.
I would say this is one of the hardest ones to predict because it's not a champion versus champion thing. Both teams are super over. Like, this whole card is hard to predict because usually you can kind of tell on Raw or SmackDown pay-per-views, you can work out who's going to win based on what you think the direction's going to be after the match. But for a lot of this, these storylines end here. Raw versus SmackDown. It only this is the one night a year when they go in direct head-to-head competition.
Yeah, they go in head-to-head direct competition. Such an easy phrase to get out, Ollie. I don't know why you struggle so much sometimes.
So yeah, Shield, you went first last time, didn't you?
I certainly did, which means it all rests on you now, sir. Where are you going?
So it's SmackDown. I'm gonna say the Shield. I'm gonna say the Shield win this.
As am I. I'm also very much saying.
Sorry, I've written that down. I'm changing these both to SmackDown so we can. There we go, and this will be Raw.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay. Yes, no, I'm going with the Shield on this one because it's the Shield's first pay-per-view match back as a trio, and the New Day losing won't really hurt them, I don't think. But I mean, I was thinking about this. I would like to see this kind of like continue on, and maybe they have like a series of matches across pay-per-views. But then again, this is the one night of the year that Raw and SmackDown stars go head-to-head in direct competition.
Yeah, this is just an exhibition thing. It's there's a little bit of ill will because New Day inadvertently cost Rollins and Ambrose the tag team championships. But, there's not much there because, even New Day said we are baby faces. We didn't mean that to happen. That's the bar's fault. The bar. So, as great as the New Day are as a unit, the Shield has Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, like legit main eventers. 3 legit main eventers.
3 former world champions.
And I can't see WWE management booking them to lose. As hot as the New Day are, for what is essentially a special attraction throwaway match, can't see that happening.
No, I think the Shield are definitely getting the W here.
So just to recap so far, we've had, not counting the cruiserweights, I've got one SmackDown. I've got it neck and neck. I've got SmackDown for 2 and Raw for 2. You have Raw for 3 and SmackDown for 1.
Certainly do.
So the Usos versus The Bar. I went first last time. This is my most anticipated match on the card.
I'm not surprised. Like, I think these two are absolutely going to tear it up. I can't wait to see this match, and I'm going with the Usos for this one. I think the Usos are getting the win here. Yeah,
I ditto. I'm going to go with the Usos too. So that brings you to 3-2, and me also to 3-2 in SmackDown's favour. Originally, of course, this match was Ambrose and Rollins versus the Usos. Really exciting match on paper. I'd love to see that. And then a few people were like, I wanted to see that match more than the Bar. When the Bar won the belts and it got changed to them, I think that's an even better matchup.
Yeah.
Because it's Cesaro who's been the star of all those Shield Bar matches. And it's been the Usos and the New Day have been as good as each other. I just think Cesaro and the Usos, it's just, it's going to be magic. And they're going to... Both teams are on a kind of roll of stealing the pay-per-views. A roll as in like a stone rolling down a hill. It sounded weird coming out my mouth for a moment there. That's what she said. So I think they're going to want to continue that with each other. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I was one of those people that when they did lose the tag straps, I was like, oh man, I was really looking forward to that. Dean and Seth versus the Usos match. In fact, of all the champion versus champion matches, it was the only one that I was looking forward to.
Back in the dark days.
Back in those dark days before they just said, change everything, which is like, scrap it all, we're changing it all around. But yeah, it was the only match I was really looking forward to. But then I thought, actually, now we're getting the Usos versus the Bar, which probably will be a better match, and the Shield versus the New Day. I'm so in for that. That's really great. And I think this is going to be an absolute barn burner.
The other there are so many contenders to steal match of the night, and that's what makes it such a good card. Next up, we have the men's 5-on-5 elimination match, which is Kurt Angle. Jeez, the lineup is insane. Team Raw of Kurt Angle, Triple H, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman versus Team SmackDown of Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode, and John Cena.
Wow, I mean, what a star-studded lineup that is.
You went first last time, right?
Certainly did.
I'm going for Raw. I'm going for Team Raw
Team
because
Raw.
I think that it's gonna.
And don't speak for me.
Sorry, I put R down for both of us. I think it's gonna be Owens and Zayn factoring into the finish and costing SmackDown the match because there needs to be interference. And this is the biggest Raw SmackDown match of the night. Like, you could have Raw win all, or like SmackDown win all the matches for the rest of the night. If they lose this one, I think everyone's going to go, oh, SmackDown were buried there. Unless there's a reason. And the most logical reason I can see here, I know you've got the Jason Jordan thing lurking in the background, but the best reason here I see is the Zayn Owens faction costing Team SmackDown the match.
I'm going Team SmackDown.
Oh, interesting.
I'm going Team SmackDown.
That is divisive.
Because I think that Zayn and Owens will interfere, and I think they will take Shane McMahon out of the match. And I could see them trying to mess things up for Team Blue. But I think that Team Blue are going to overcome this because I think that the company would look at the Triple H, Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan thing as the bigger story. So I think if that implodes, then that should be the one that causes them to lose the match. So I do feel that this is where SmackDown are going to get the win.
Good. Yeah, so you have... You almost have your interference spots spread out as far as possible in the match.
Absolutely.
Shane McMahon gets taken out as soon as possible, so he doesn't get another bloody concussion like last year.
Oh no, because I've got my spot of the night, which I think they're going to.
Oh yeah.
So so as a mini prediction for this, I think they are going to recreate King of the Ring 2001, where Kurt Angle belly to belly suplexed overhead Shane through a glass. It was a glass panel. I think they're going to do that through the electric screen this year.
It's a good call. And Shane's got to do something nuts.
Yeah, and then Shane will try and make his comeback. He'll try and come out of the ring, the fiery baby face that he is. And that's when Owens and Zayn attack.
Because last year's match, which was spectacular, that 55-minute insane match.
So good.
What a match that was. That had a fair bit of interference because, of course, Dean Ambrose came back down and they Shield powerbombed AJ when AJ was a heel. There was Ellsworth as the mascot. That played into it. So there was multiple interference. And I expect this match to go pretty long.
Yeah.
Because usually for a 4-hour show, they have like 11 matches, but they've only got 8. Yeah. So I think a few matches are getting a lot of time, and this is the most obvious one.
I think this will easily get an hour.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with Raw, but you are right. Zayn and Owens taking Shane McMahon specifically out because their beef is with him more than the SmackDown brand at nearer the start of the match, but the finish has Jordan costing Angle the match and thus his general manager role.
Yeah. Well, if that's
the thing, yeah.
Do you even know what's on the line, to quote Stephanie McMahon?
No. Okay, and so let's total this up. For me, I have 1 for SmackDown, 1 for Raw, 2 for SmackDown, 2 for Raw, 3 for SmackDown. So I'm at 3 and 3.
Yeah.
And you are at 1 for Raw, 1 for Raw, 1 for SmackDown, 1 for Raw, 1 for SmackDown, 1 for Smack. We're both 3 and 3, just in different combinations, heading into the main event, or it might not be the main event.
I think this will be the main event. I'm pretty sure that it's in Brock's contract that he has to be the main event.
Really?
That would be my assumption because he always is the main event.
Yeah, and so it's AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar, WWE Champion versus Champion of the Universe, as Daniel Bryan billed him, Brock Lesnar. What a match on paper, and I really hope Brock's motivated to do something special, because he's got great matches in him. It's whether he
wants to.
He cares.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're both neck and neck. I went first last time.
I mean, it's got to be Brock, right? Especially if you're still building this whole Reigns culminating win at WrestleMania, but I do think there's going to be some big old interference from the modern day Maharaja Jinder Mahal to build to their to the Clash of Champions WWE Championship rematch in December.
Well, I'm also saying Brock, so I'm also putting down Raw here. But I didn't think of the yesterday Maharaja as my as a factor in. I do hope they just have a straight up wrestling match. AJ. I think the money is in AJ. You can have like a dirty finish where Jinder would factor into the end, and of course that protects AJ somewhat. But I think AJ taking Brock to the absolute limit, and it's just a matter of who's the best on that day. Both men are more than capable of telling that story. It's a difficult story to tell. Probably, that's one of the most difficult stories to tell, of getting both men over while they're both looking strong and one has to win, but they both look strong in defeat. That's why Okada's so good in New Japan, is that he's a master at that. That's what I want from this match. I want it to, because this is a dream match, and I want it to be I just want it to be a full 20-minute straight wrestling match. No hijinks. Paul Heyman screaming his head off at ringside, going, no, to make you buy into all those near falls that AJ gets. But just on this day, because another day maybe AJ's speed and mental fortitude could beat Brock, but not this one.
I completely agree with you, and that is my hope as well. However, this is the WWE, and we do have a December pay-per-view to build to. You also had that interaction with them backstage at SmackDown, and all I'm saying is that, can you imagine, that match that you described then is what is taking place, and they do this big old double down, and the crowd are super into getting them over, and then the Singh brothers come out to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the modern-day Maharaja," and Jinder makes his entrance. The heat that man would get for interfering in their dream match. Maybe it might be the most legit heat he ever gets.
It's kind of we had this discussion on the Wednesday show where you almost wanted Alexa Bliss to interfere in the Ric Flair Charlotte lovely moment,
but didn't really want her to.
And I was like, sometimes you just got to let the nice moments be nice moments. Yeah. And I think I want this to be a nice moment rather than an opportunity to get be the cheapest of
very cheap heat, but
the cheapest heat.
But I'm still thinking that Brock wins here.
So I won the first fantasy booking warfare for this month. I think we're neck and neck at the moment in Raw and SmackDown. We've got to have a look.
No, not because you won Raw and you won.
I won this week's.
Oh, it was a landslide victory.
So it's 2-0.
As I predicted, it would be a landslide victory.
So it's 2-0 to me. A lot's riding on this show. We're going to have different... So NXT will count for one. Survivor Series will count for one.
Yeah.
And then we've got, of course, a few more Raw and SmackDown reviews for the month to go head-to-head on, and a fantasy booking warfare next Sunday. The WrestleRamble War... What did I say?
Sunday.
Next Saturday. Is live and kicking.
Isn't it just? November is hot to trot.
Well, you say hot. I've got an idea for the punishment, because we've done, I did the one performance thing, you've done your performance thing. I think now we need to do something that's actually going to hurt us.
Okay.
So I'm going to say on the line something very spicy.
Well, someone did suggest to me on Twitter this one chip challenge.
Yeah, you can't get those. They're sold out.
Oh, are they?
I looked into that because that's what gave me the idea. But I think we'll just get some hot sauce in. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today's show. Click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Subscribe, support, Patreon. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.